Hello, this is MrChabry, and like I said in the last video, I'm going to be doing a playthrough series of Pokémon Black and White, and if you guys want to join along, you might want some help in planning out your team. So, like before, we looked at grass types. Now we're going to be looking at the fire types that you can get in Unova, specifically the first Black and White. Surprisingly, the first fire type in the Unova Dex is actually Victini. This is one of those mythical Pokemon, and with that, it has 100 stats across the board, meaning it's a great Pokemon. However, if you're doing a normal playthrough, you're not going to have access to this thing. The only way to get access to it was an event early on in the life cycle of Pokemon Black and White. So you're not going to be able to use this on your team, but if you were able to use it, it would be one of the best fire types. It has psychic typing as well. Just a great all-around Pokemon. However, you're not really going to have access to it if you're doing a normal playthrough. Now we're looking at Embar. This is the final form of the Tepig starter line, and it is actually a pretty decent Pokemon if you're wanting to use this as a fire type. It is slow with only 65 speed, and its defenses are pretty low. However, it's got really good HP at 110. It's got good special attack as well at 100, and 123 attack means this thing's going to be doing a lot of damage. And it does have really nice coverage moves. Not only do you have access to fire type moves, but you also have access to great fighting type moves, being that this thing is also the fighting type. It also has access to Wild Charge, which gives you electric type. And it also can learn Scald, which is surprising because most of the time your fire types are not going to learn any water type moves. Grass Knot will also give you something you can use when you're facing some pretty scary water types yourself. This thing is great move pool, really good attack, lower speed, but you could probably make it work. The next Pokemon is Simisear, and being one of the Simimons, it gets outclassed by a lot of other Pokemon of its typing. 98 attack and special attack is decent, and 101 speed is also decent. However, it's not going to be living that many hits, and being that this is one of those Pokemon that's pretty much given to you, depending on which starter you start out with, it's probably not going to be a Pokemon that you're wanting to keep on your team for that long of your journey. It does have some decent move pool options with Nasty Plot, Work Up, and you can run Flamethrower if you wanted. You can even run Superpower if you wanted some physical attacks. But really, this thing is outclassed by so many things. You probably would be better off using pretty much any other fire type that we're going to look at. Next up is Darmanitan, and this is probably one of the best physical fire types you can have access to in your game. This thing has an impressive 140 attack, meaning it's going to hit things really hard. 95 speed is actually pretty good as well. You're going to be able to outspeed things with this thing way better than you can with Embar. 105 HP is pretty good, however its defenses are not that great at 55, and its special attack is only 30. However, that's if you're working with the normal Darmanitan. If you end up getting one with the Zen Mode ability, once its HP gets to a certain point, it goes into Zen Mode Darmanitan, meaning it gains the Psychic typing, and its stats are switched around a little bit. Special attack is now 140, and its defenses are both 105, meaning it's going to be a little bit more bulky. However, if you're using this through your playthrough, the base Darmanitan with the ability Sheer Force is going to be way more useful to you because you're getting access to that hard-hitting physical moves early on. But this is one of the best fire types that you could put on your team. So if you want to run with this thing, it's going to be great. When looking at these fire types, Chandelure is one that's probably going to be on a lot of people's list. This thing is a special attacking monster. At 145, it's going to be hitting things very hard. 90 defense and special defense means it's not going to be taking hits that well, especially backed by only 60 HP. But with 80 speed, you're going to be able to outspeed certain things. However, it's not going to be the fastest thing on your team. This is pretty much a definition of a glass cannon. It's going to hit things really, really hard, but in turn it's going to get hit pretty hard itself, and you don't want that to happen. This thing also has the ghost typing, which is really great, and it also has really great coverage moves. You can give it Energy Ball. Of course, you have access to its fire and ghost type moves, but you also can give it Psychic if you deem that that's needed. This thing is great, and I would say that if you're looking for a special fire type Pokemon for your team, Chandelure can do a lot for you. When looking at a list of disappointing Pokemon, Heatmor would probably be on a lot of people's list there. This thing has really low speed at 65, meaning it's not going to be hitting things very often because it's so slow, and its defenses are low as well, meaning it's not going to be taking hits very well. Its attack is only 97. Its special attack is a little bit better at 105. However, all these really low stats does not mean that this thing's going to be that great on your team, and especially for the fact that it's something you find later on in your playthrough, it's not going to be that great. It does have some really nice coverage moves. You can give it Fire Blast, Giga Drain, Super Power, Sucker Punch. You can give it Aerial Ace. You can give it a lot of great different coverage options. But the big problem with this thing is it's not going to be bringing the stats that will back up that moveset. So Heatmor would probably be one that, if you want to challenge yourself, try it out, but probably best to leave it behind. Now, looking at late-game Fire-type Pokemon, Volcarona is an amazing choice. This thing has really great special attack at 135, 105 special defense, and a 100 speed. That's its best stats, and it does have access to Quiver Dance, meaning you're going to be able to boost those stats even more. And it has a great set of coverage moves: Fire Blast, Giga Drain, Bug Buzz. Pretty much any special move that you would need, this thing can make really great work with. However, it is a late game Pokemon, and you're more likely not going to be able to use it through your playthrough. However, this thing is one of the greatest Fire-type Pokemon in Unova. Now, if you have Pokemon Black, you have access to one of the strongest Fire-type Pokemon of all time, and that's going to be Reshiram. This thing is a Dragon Fire-type Legendary, and it's got crazy high offensive stats. 150 special attack and 120 attack. It can hit things hard. 120 special defense, 100 defense, 100 HP. This is great all around. However, it being a legendary, you're not going to have access to this thing until the late game, after you've went through the Elite Four. So don't really be planning to use this on your main team, but this thing is great, and it can do a lot of work. So which Fire-type Pokemon are you choosing for your playthrough? Me, myself, I might end up going with Emboar just because I like using Tepig as a starter, and that gives you a Fire type really early on in the game. Anyway, if you like this, give it a thumbs up, subscribe. I will see you in the next Pokemon video.